right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I always appreciate being here and being able to do this. We finished up 1 Samuel 17 last week, and I want to jump into 1 Samuel 18. And as true to my word, half an hour. We'll be done by 3:30. But I am going to try and get through this entire chapter this week, so we are going to move. 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of his robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. Saul set him over the men of the war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to get into it. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you so much, God, for this opportunity, Lord. You know I don't deserve it. You know I don't deserve to stand here. You know I don't deserve to even open your word, dear Lord, but you let me. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much, God. Help it not to be taken lightly by me or by anybody, God, as it so often is. Please, Lord, please fill me with your words, Lord. Fill me with your spirit. Help me to grow closer to you, dear Lord, from doing this. In Jesus' name, amen. So we see these first few verses, the friendship that develops between Jonathan and David. And this friendship is worthy of note. You know, this is the one that people use as an example of what a good friendship should be, is Jonathan and David. And not to sound cliche like I just mentioned, know who your friends are. Get good friends. I'm a college student, just finished up my sophomore year. I'm going to be a junior next year, which is incredibly crazy to think about. So yeah, prayers. But in college, one of the things I was most advised about is make good friends. Make the right friends. Have the right kind, hang around the right kind of people. Because your friends determine who you are. Birds of a feather flock together. That is a cliche statement, but it is so very true. There was a man who said, show me a man's friends and I can show you the man. And that is because you will hang around who you are like. You will hang around who you desire to be like. And so, who will your friends be? My friends are set up on Sundays. Every Sunday at 10 at night, we all get on a Zoom call. And we hang out and we chat a little bit and we pray. And that is so great. And it occurred to me this past Sunday, this is the second Sunday we did it. Wow, I have the best friends. And you need to make sure that the people that you hang around, they're the best friends. They will get you further. They will bring you closer to God. Because if they don't bring you closer to God, then they shouldn't be your best friends. That's just a rule of principle. Strengthen one another. As iron sharpeneth iron, so this countenance of friend sharpeneth the countenance of a friend. Know who your friends are. And Jonathan and David were the best kind of friends. And they let their friendship grow, and they let it bring them and make them better. And this happening here is so symbolic. See, Jonathan's robes and his weapons were special because he was the king's son. He was Saul's son. So his robe would indicate royalty. His weapons would indicate royalty. So giving them to David, it was a sign. My positioning doesn't matter between us. Don't let who I am or who I'm supposed to be keep you from being my friend. And that is so important. I'm not going to spend all of it right here, even though I could. You can preach a whole message on friendship and starting from right here. But I'm here to talk about David today. So we're going to keep on moving. Verse 6. And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. The women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what? Excuse me. Alright, I think we're good now, I apologize. They have ascribed unto David 10,000, they have ascribed unto me but thousands. What can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day forward. Now, first off, we see Saul being incredibly childish here. Saul was king over all of Israel. Saul was this warrior. And so when the ladies came out and they were singing their praises of the warriors, they said, Saul has slain his thousands, but David has slain his 10,000. They ascribed more deaths to David than to Saul. Now, this is amusing a little bit because we have seen David act as a participant in one battle at this point in his life. So that Saul knows this. Saul knows that this song isn't accurate yet. It's not accurate. David becomes this amazing warrior, and we see that even later in this chapter. But at this point, this was not an accurate statement. 2, they still ascribed unto Saul thousands, and that wasn't good enough for him. So the entire thing was Saul. He was this king, and he started off so well. He unified the tribes of Israel. We see that earlier in Saul's life in 1 Samuel. He took all 12 tribes and unified them to be Israel. And he started so well. And we saw the beginning of his downfall right when David comes in. Right before David comes in. And this starts to kill Saul's kingdom. And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. For the rest of Saul's life, he would always be jealous and eyeing David, wanting what David had. And we're going to read more about that right now in verse 10. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul. And he prophesied in the midst of his house, and David played with his hand, as at other times. And there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. And then the next verse, Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. You see the progression of Saul's downfall. First, Saul was eyeing David. Now he is afraid of David. He fears David because he knows God is with David. And he knows God's not with him. And Saul, see, whenever we come to the realization that God's not with us anymore, that we don't have God on us anymore like we used to have God on us, in Saul's case, we have an amazing ability. We can fix that. See, Saul was not actually interested in repairing relationships with God. Because he could have tried to do that. He could have prayed unto God. He could have tried to sacrifice unto God. He could have done everything that he could have done to make him and God good again. But he didn't do any of that. Instead, he looked at David and said, that guy has God on him, and I want that. And instead of trying to talk to God and get that for himself, he just said, no, I don't want you to have that anymore. And that's when what you're talking about becomes covetousness. See, it's okay. Let's use life examples. Who was it? At college, there's this guy. His name is Jonathan Lewis, and he has a nice car. I mean, it's a nice car. It's like brand new. It was 2019, 2020 car, and I don't remember the exact model. I apologize. But it was a very nice car. And it is okay for me to want that car. That's okay. I can want what somebody else has. What's not okay is when I want it to the point where I don't even want anybody else to have it anymore if I can't have it. And that's what Saul was doing. Saul looked at David and said, Saul, David, you have what I want. And you know what? I don't even want you to live anymore if you can have that and I don't have that. So I'm going to try and kill you. He threw javelins at him twice. David kept coming and playing before Saul. I don't know why he came back the second time. I wouldn't have come back the second time. I don't have that much faith in my javelin dodging abilities. But apparently David did. And he came before Saul twice and he played before him. And all the time Saul was just getting angrier and angrier as he looks at him and says, that man has God on him. That man has God on him. That man has God on him. Oh, why don't I have God on me? When he could have. God's not exclusively any one person. Does that make sense? I have God. God is my God. That is my God. But that does not make him just my God. That is what is amazing. Is he can be your God. He can be your God. He can be everyone's God. Because he is God. That word is so all-encompassing. It is so amazing when used properly to think about God. And Saul wanted what David had, but Saul did not want to work for what David had. Saul did not want to maintain the relationship with God that David had maintained. And if you see somebody that has God on them, that can be you. Honestly, it can. If you just walk with God. So we're going to keep reading. And Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. I actually think that was a wise decision by Saul. I actually do. It was a very magnanimous decision. Saul did not like him. Saul said that he was afraid of him. So Saul, instead of just keeping him in front of him and getting angrier and angrier and angrier at him, he put him over captain of thousands where he had the ability to do his job. Maybe Saul was hoping he'd fail. Maybe Saul was hoping, we see that later on, Saul is hoping that he just dies in battle. We see that happen later on in this very chapter. But I think this decision by Saul is actually a good one. If something makes you mad, don't hang around it. If somebody makes you mad, don't hang around them. That's just practical. And then keep reading verse 14. Like I said, I would have 17 minutes. I want to get through the whole chapter today because we haven't been doing a good job of getting through chapters. My fault. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. That seems to be a recurring theme with David. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, Behold my elder daughter, Merab. Her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. So Saul says this to David, and like I said, later on you're going to see that Saul was actively hoping that David was going to die in battle. That was what Saul's goal was. But then I want you to see this, David's humility. And David said unto Saul, Who am I? And what is my life and my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? David had been anointed as the next king of Israel at this point. David had been victorious in battles. David had captained over thousands and thousands of men. But still, when given this, he didn't say, well, it's about time. Well, I mean, I've done all this stuff. It's about time, Saul. Come on. Remember, this man tried to kill him twice. And Saul said, you're going to marry my daughter. Just go out and fight my battles. And David said, who am I that I should be son-in-law of the king? And I'm thinking right now, that is how all of us should look at our own salvation. We have a gift from the king. I am the son of the king, and that is mind-blowing. Who am I that I should be son to the king? That is incredible. That is incredible. And David's humility, this is why it's hard to get through this. I've seen like 4 different things I wanted to preach already since going through this, and just trying to narrow it down and just talk about David is very difficult. But David's humility, wow. Who am I that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Meholite, that name, to wife. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him. Not the favorite child, then. And that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, that this day be that my son-in-law, and the one of the twain. Not only did Saul try to use this again, to try and kill David again, the same trick with a different daughter. He said, I'll let you marry my daughter, and we're going to see what Saul demands of him in just a minute. It's pretty weird. But Saul was so blind to it. Everything. And, honestly, at this point, I'm imagining Yoda saying, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side. And, that's amusing Star Wars reference. But it seems to be proven accurate here. First, Saul was eyeing David, then he was afraid of David. Then he was angry at David, he threw javelins at David, and now he just hates David. He wants everything to be wrong with David. He wants to give him a wife that he says will be a snare unto him, and he wants to try and use that wife to kill him again. So, everything Saul is doing, he's not thinking about his kingdom, he's thinking about, how can I get at David? Blinded by his jealousy for him and his hatred for him. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, commune with David secretly, and say, behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David, and David said, seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I'm a poor man and lightly esteemed? Again, remember, this was something that was promised to him a while ago. The time had come where Saul's oldest daughter should have been given to David, and she was given to another. And now there's another one of Saul's daughter that Saul is offering to him, and she again responds with humility. Do you think it's a light thing to be the king's son-in-law? Being a poor man's son? That's amazing. That's amazing that David again would not even be spited by Saul's insult to him by giving his daughter to another, but that again he responds with humility. He responds, this isn't something to be taken lightly. And again, David just blows my mind. And the servants of Saul told him, saying, on this manner spake David. And Saul said, thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. So Saul says, I'll let you have my daughter, you can be my son-in-law, just want you to go out and kill 100 Philistines. That seems pretty impossible, probably because it was supposed to be. Saul wanted him to die. Saul was hoping that David was going to die when doing this. Wherefore, and when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. I can just imagine this taking place. Saul sets this trap up. He's like, David, you can be my son-in-law. I'll give you my daughter. I don't need anything from you. I don't need any dowry. I don't need any wedding presents. I don't need you to give me anything. I just want you to go out and kill 100 Philistines. That's it, David. So David goes out and he kills 200 Philistines, when he wasn't even supposed to be able to kill 100 Philistines. So I'm picturing David tells Saul's servants he's back, and with the evidence that he killed the 200 Philistines, and Saul's servant comes in to see Saul, and he goes, King Saul, David didn't kill 100 Philistines. And Saul's like, no, not my captain, not my future son-in-law. How many did he manage to kill? He killed 200. He's over there, if you want to talk to him. And Saul just all the more angry because of this. Not only did his plan not work, David again exceeds all expectations. In his wildest dreams, Saul was probably like, he's not going to be able to kill 100 Philistines. There's no way. This guy is still a little kid. This guy still has only fought now 2 recorded battles. There's no way that he's going to be able to do this. And then he comes out and kills 200 Philistines. And again, you see Saul. So this is an amazing accomplishment for any warrior to undertake. Amazing. 200 Philistines dead. And Saul gives him his daughter, sure, but he's still angry. Verse 29, and still afraid. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David. And Saul became David's enemy continually. You see at the beginning of this chapter in verse 9, Saul eyed David from that day and forward. And he was eyeing David first, watching him. And then he was afraid of David. You see that mentioned numerous times throughout this chapter. Numerous times. He was just afraid of David. What's David going to do? What more can he have but the kingdom? The ladies are singing and dancing, and they've described to me but thousands. And David still, throughout the entire chapter, his humility, over and over again. Who am I that I should be the king's son-in-law? And then he wasn't. Then the woman that was promised to him is given to somebody else. And that's an insult to somebody. That is an insult to say you can have my daughter and then not be able to deliver that, not follow through with your word. It's almost like saying, no, you know what, you're not good enough for her. You're not good enough for her anymore. But David, instead of being insulted by that, is still, when Saul is planting the seeds to try and kill David again, still the humility. Seemeth it to you a light thing to be the king's son-in-law? See, David was concerned about being a man, being able to provide, and seeing as I'm a poor man. David's humility. And Saul still, instead of seeing how great David was becoming, instead of seeing how much God was with David and trying to get God with him again. And Saul became David's enemy. Continually. And the cycle begins. Most of 1 Samuel, the rest of 1 Samuel, you see Saul seeking to kill David, and David just humbling himself. Just humbling himself. Humbling himself. Who am I that I should be the king's son? Who am I? Verse 30, then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. And you see David continual growth. You see his name becomes bigger. David, much was set by his name. The name David meant something. And that's important. You know, you have Proverbs 22:1, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and loving favor rather than silver or gold. But David, this chapter is like, you see David becoming more and more and more, becoming greater and greater for God, becoming greater and greater. But still, God is giving him more and more and more, and that's great. God blesses people, and God can bless you, God can bless me. But if we want the continual blessing of God, like David had the continual blessing of God, we need to do a couple things. One, we need to stay humble. We need to stay humble. David, this entire chapter, while he's giving more positioning, while he's giving more power, while he's giving, his name is becoming greater, we see he's still as humble as he was when he was but a shepherd boy. Still as humble. Who am I? Who am I? Seemeth to you be a light thing to be the king's son-in-law. Still just humble. Even though God was giving him all that. If you want to have the continual blessing of God, it starts off by staying humble with God. Knowing it was God. Not saying, not lifting yourself up, not looking for yourself accolades or more for yourself, but saying, no, this is God. God is blessing me. Second thing that we see that David did, David behaved himself wisely. That's mentioned numerous times in the chapter. You see in the last verse, you see it in verse, sorry, I should have labeled them before I came out here. Verse 14, verse 15, and I think there's one other one. Verse 5. Numerous times throughout this chapter, David behaved wisely. Himself wisely before Saul. See, first he was humble, then he was wise. And 3, he was content with where he was. He was given more, but you don't see him asking for more. You see him just doing his job. At the beginning of the chapter, he still is just playing his harp, played with his hand before Saul. He was content with just playing with his harp before Saul. He was able to do that. He was content with doing that. Even though Saul tried to kill him twice. That being said, if somebody keeps trying to kill you at your work, don't keep going to work. Call the cops. But David was content to wait on God. And when God kept giving him more, David kept being content. You see him actually not want the more. He didn't think he was worthy to be David's son-in-law. He didn't think he was worthy without a substantial dowry, without a substantial wedding gift for Saul. So basically, will you be David? David in this chapter is amazing. He's humble, and he's wise, and he's content with what God has given him. 3:29, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to be done. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much, God, for this opportunity. Lord, please, please, please help me. Please let me learn from this. Let me give me wisdom from this. Let this change my life. And if nobody else ever hears this, that's fine, God. I want it to change me. Lord, please help me. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. Please help everyone that saw this day to know what David was your servant. David was an amazing man of God. And we see how humble David was. How wise David was. Let us try to live like David did. Dear Lord, thank you so much again for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all for watching. You have a great day.